Browns now sit atop of the AFC North. Baker Mayfield had nearly 3 unpicked, but running back Nick Chubb ran for 165 yards and 3 touchdowns, including an 88-yard run to ice the game. And after this one, Baker wanted to make sure everyone knows he didn't forget about the early season criticism. Take a listen.
The win's great, but I hope everybody keeps the same energy. Throw us in the trash. We won't forget it.
I've heard that before. Shannon, how surprising was the Browns' win?
Skip, I'm not surprised that they won the game. I'm surprised how easy they made it look in winning the game. And I think the Browns need to play through Nick Chubb. The Ravens didn't take anything away, Skip. You know, if you don't take anything away from an offense, you let them run the ball at will, you let them pass the ball at will, you're going to lose that game. And they're going to put a big chunk of yards up on you. That's why the Ravens gave up over 500 yards. Now, the interception really wasn't Baker's fault. Jarvis made a business decision. He said, I'm not going to open up a business in there today.
I agree.
Maybe, Skip, maybe tomorrow or on the other side I'll open up a business.
By the way, in the third quarter, he left with a concussion. So,
True.
Yes. So, and sometimes you have to make those kind of decisions, Skip, for health reasons. But I thought Baker played well. He was very accurate. He was very decisive. Chubb ran the ball extremely well. Skip, this dude, he doesn't get enough credit. Nick Chubb does not get enough credit because I guess he doesn't have the name. He's not a Todd Gurley, or he's not a Saquon or a Zeke Elliott. But Skip, he for real. He can run it.
remember, this is the guy standing at the carousel at the airport when he arrived, and the Browns fans said, "You play football?"
Right.
Remember, that was on Hard Knocks.
Exactly.
For Hard Knocks, no one knew who he was, no one recognized him.
And Georgia should be ashamed of themselves. They had Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, and Sonny Michel on the same team.
Can you imagine? Not bad.
But we go talk about that another time.
Day.
That may be why Georgia beat Oklahoma when Baker Mayfield was the quarterback in the national semifinal, because they're running Chubb and Sony and Chubb and Sony, and it's hard to stop those guys.
It's very hard. But, Skip, I like the Browns coming into the season. I expected them to win. I said they would win the division.
But then you got off that.
No. I still said they were going to win the division, but we undervalued the Ravens. You, like the Steelers, you still want to ride with the Steelers.
I did until the quarterback had Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, Tommy John surgery. But, Skip, I still believe the Ravens are a good team. But in a situation like they're in, they can't turn the football over. They need to play with the lead to keep a situation where they can do the run pass. When they fall behind like they fall behind, it kind of takes the thread of Lamar's legs out of the equation because they need to throw to catch up. Is when they have the lead, and now we're going to dictate to you when we're going to throw the football. We're going to dictate to you when we're going to run the football. When you fall behind 18, 21 points, you're not dictating to anybody. You're throwing, and we know you're going to throw. But give the Browns credit. I thought they played really well. They took the ball away from the Ravens. Myles Garrett, the Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Defensively, they got after Lamar, got a couple of hits on him, forced some turnovers. But this goes to Freddie K. Freddie Kitchens, the offensive coordinator, head coach. I thought he did a great job of calling the game yesterday and took advantage of some things that he saw in that Ravens defense.
So, my takeaway from yesterday's game was Baker Mayfield is underrated as hell. That's what I think. Underrated as hell. Because last week we heard from somebody.
Oh, yes, we did.
That he was
Sexy Rexy.
Yeah, Sexy Rexy.
Sexy.
Underrated as hell. And by the way, I hope that AB engages Baker Mayfield in a little Twitter spat every week, because it just reinflates the chip on Baker's shoulder. Because AB was getting after him. It was getting low blow, man. It was. So it was deleted tweet. That's what it was, right?
Baker don't need to listen.
Yeah,
just let it go,
Baker, let those go. That one you can let it pass.
But again, chip on shoulder,
know.
two-time walk-on who won the Heisman. This is how this fuels him. And now all he's done is in 3 games against the Baltimore Ravens, 3 games, 2 last year, 1 this year, he has averaged 353 yards passing. So to me, at least against Baltimore, they should play through Baker Mayfield, because that's extraordinary to me, because I used to respect Baltimore, and now Baltimore is starting to get shredded, especially by Baker Mayfield.
But Skip, if you look at Chubb runs the ball extremely well against that defense. And when you can run the ball, now Baker's play action, you see the tight end running scot-free. You see Jarvis Landry having big big down the seam off the play action, who played really well yesterday.
But they ran it, I'm sorry, they threw it first to run it. They started throwing right out of the box. And by the way, my other big takeaway from yesterday was this team does not have to play through Odell. They just don't, because Odell was little to no factor.
You try to cause some confusion.
well,
so you about to cause some confusion,
Okay,
Skip.
well, I'm just saying, Odell had a career low 2 catches for 20 yards. Worst in his career, 2 for 20.
Yeah.
And
How many targets?
what happened?
That's the question. How many targets, Skip?
Well, I don't even remember.
See
Yeah,
if I
you can look it up. But the point is, what was the final score?
They won a whole lot to a few. 40-25?
Yeah, 40-25. They scored 40 points with no Odell Beckham Jr. as a factor in this game. 2 catches for 20 yards. So my point is that we're going to talk later.
He had 7 targets.
7, okay. Jarvis had 10 targets, maybe?
Caught 8 of them for $167.
Yeah, remember, Jarvis only lasted 3 quarters because he got concussed at the end of 3 quarters. And Ricky Seals-Jones, once undrafted, caught 3 balls for almost 90 yards. Well, Baker can do that. That's what he was doing last year. He was throwing to no-names and nobodies, and they were shredding the Ravens. And again, yesterday, I thought he outplayed, like last week, you said you would take Lamar Jackson as the guy you would build around of the first and second year quarterbacks. And I said, no, I'm taking Baker. And I got to tell you, Lamar did not play very well yesterday because you have to keep in perspective. Cleveland didn't have Denzel Ward at one corner. They didn't have Greedy Williams at the other corner. They did not have Morgan Burnett at one of the safeties. So they're down 3 defensive backfield starters, and Lamar could only do that much. It just wasn't good enough.
They did a great job, Skip. They got after him. They had 4 sacks on him. They got a couple of hits on him. And the thing is that with this offense, the way you have to play, Skip, you really need to be really close or you need to be in the lead.
Yep.
Because if you fall behind too much and you force Lamar to just throw, that's not what he's good at. Yeah, he's a better passer, a much, much better passer than what he was last year. But that's not his forte. This notion that, oh, I would much rather throw the ball than run it. But he's better at running than throwing it. And as he advances, he'll get better at throwing than running. But that's still a great asset to have. And if they can keep the game close or they can play with the lead, he's going to be even more lethal. It's when you fall behind by 21, Skip, that's not their forte. They're not coming back from that kind of deficit.
Nope, they are not. And speaking of Baltimore's defense, you once played for the Baltimore Ravens.
I did.
They've been there for 24 years, and it was a while back that you played for them, but they haven't been there that long, 24 years, but still, it's a pretty long time,
Yes.
almost a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
This is the first time in their 24-year history they've allowed 500 back-to-back in 2 games.
Yeah.
500 yards they have allowed. Now, one was to my homeboy, Kansas City.
Yes.
Okay? But this was to Baker Mayfield in Baltimore. And I know Wink Martindale is one of the best interviews in all of sports, and he can be a comedian, and he can be prone to
Hyperbole.
wildly exciting and entertaining hyperbole. But Wink is going to turn into Stink Martindale if he's not careful, right?
Yes.
That's what he's going to start getting called because that stinks.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if you look at it, Skip, the Ravens ran the ball 29 for $173. That's 6 yards a clip.
Yep.
You can live with that, but you're behind. And when you're behind, you take the running game out of it. And they got behind so quick, and that it seemed like the Cleveland went right down the field and scored. And then when Lamar turned the ball over, they're right back in the end zone. Now you change the dynamic of the game of how you want to play it.
Yep.
That's not how Baltimore wants to play. I know Lamar threw the ball really well against Miami, and he's had some games where he's thrown the ball well. But Skip, all being said, they don't really want Lamar Jackson throwing the ball 34 times,
I don't
40
think
times.
they do either. I would agree. So back to our man Odell. I think he was happy enough after the game because they had won at Baltimore and a little bit of a surprise, probably not to them, but to the rest of the NFL world. And he was the center of post-game attention because he had gotten into it with Marlon Humphrey. And then his coach, Freddie Kay, had defended him, saying, the refs allowed Marlon to choke him on the ground, which they did after he threw a
Marlon
punt.
deboed him.
Yeah, he did. He deboed him. But Odell, you can say Odell started it by throwing a punt.
He did.
Yeah, he did. I agree.
Yeah.
But I think Odell was happy to be the center of that attention. But if they continue to win with him getting 2 for 20, at some point, he is going to throw a post-game or in-game fit.
It's a
He just
career
will.
low for him.
Yep.
He's not going to like that.
Skip, you can't. I know as much as you're one of the highest paid receivers and you're electric, you're dynamic, but you can't. If you're winning, no matter how bad your stats look, you can't say a word. Bite your tongue. As a matter of fact, go out and buy you another watch. Buy you another high expensive item. But you better not say anything.
Another rolls.
Why not?
Yeah.
Skip, people, they'll eat him up. The Browns fan will eat him up. They might love him, but if you complain that you're not getting your numbers, even though you're winning, that won't be a good look.
That's a good point. They're not going to
I don't love that going forward. They still have a tough stretch, but the last 8 games of this schedule are all winnable. If they can find some sort of a flow with all their receivers in the run game and keep everybody relatively happy, they're going to be good.
You can't keep everybody happy because there are going to be times where Jarvis is going to have a game like that.
Agreed.
Just like there was a game in the Jets when Odell had that monster game and Jarvis didn't do a whole lot. Then you're going to have a game where the tight end goes off. It just flows like that. But Chubb needs to have games not no 160, but
he broke that
long, that 80-plus yarder. But he needs to be 90, 100 yards. He needs to be around that area for them to be successful.
All right, they're back in action Monday night, 49ers. Monday Night
good
Football.
game.
That should be interesting. We're going to move on to the Chiefs, also still undefeated. But was Patrick Mahomes the reason, or is there more to the story? We'll discuss next.